After you won an NBA championship, what was the key for a South Carolina kid who came to the NBA out of high school, making it to a first ballot Hall of Famer?
What was it? What'd you say?
For a kid from South Carolina, what was your road? How did you do it? How did you become such a great player and a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Man, that's like a 2-day question, man. But a 3-day answer, right?
Yeah.
Growing up in the South, there's not a lot of advantages that some of the bigger cities have. You know, it's not a lot of exposure. At least at the time when I came out, there wasn't a lot of exposure. There wasn't a lot of TV play. But what I found out is when you are good, they will find you. And that pedigree and that competitive spirit and that passion that I was able to acquire over just playing different players, different types of players in the South. That pedigree in the South is a real, it's kind of like a football pedigree, if you will. But I grew up in that. You know, I'm a real kid from the neighborhood, slab boxing, football, street ball, basketball, all that. So that competitive nature, I just carried with me to Chicago, to Minneapolis, to Boston, to Brooklyn, to this whole thing.
Yeah. You're about a 2-hour drive from your old stomping grounds right now, Boston. What did your time with the Celtics and winning a championship with that storied franchise mean to you?
It meant everything, man. You know, you come into the NBA wanting to win, and losing is part of it. Doesn't mean you have to accept it. And getting with a storied franchise like Boston gave me light, gave me breath, gave me purpose. And then the players that you're playing with actually made the experience monumental, made it magical. The city was waiting for something big or for something different to happen versus where it was. And you know, when we went, we just never looked back. The fan base in Boston was over the top, man. People following you home, people standing outside your gate when you get home, people wanting to pump your gas, weird people. Like, it was like the fan level in Boston was just another level. But I learned to embrace it. And my only regret in any of this is that I should have came to Boston a little earlier. So that's it. Other than that, it was magical.
In capturing that 2008 title, your Celtics defeated Kobe and the Lakers.
Facts.
What did Kobe Bryant mean to you in the game of basketball?
Kobe Bryant was like a little bro to me, man. I got to see Kobe. He was very young and not as polished as everybody's got to see him. When he was very vulnerable, we were both vulnerable. We were both young. And we used to always interact with each other with that youthfulness, with that kid persona. We always talked the game, cracked a lot of jokes on each other, but at the end, it was two very fierce competitors. And there was our parallel. You know, as much as he wanted to win, I wanted to win at the same time. As much as he thought he was the best, I thought I was the best. I used to always crack on him and tell him he was too small to play. He used to always crack on me, tell him I was too small to guard him. It was great conversation, great back and forth, and great competition. And I don't think I'm the only one in here that thinks that Kobe Bryant is fairly missed. Miss him every day. And what he brought to not just to the game of basketball, but to sports, period.
Our first question is here from Dan Wicke from the LA Times.
Hey, Kevin, congratulations, first of all, on this.
Thank you, Dan.
What's the gravity like, not only to go with Kobe, but Tim as well? The three of you guys competing, on elite teams for a generation, right? It was, if you were going to win, odds are you're going to have to either go through Kobe or Tim at some point.
I'm sorry, repeat that. I'm sorry, I'm having problems hearing you. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem, sorry. Odds were, during your career, if you wanted to win a title, you were probably going to have to go through either Tim or Kobe. What's it like going in with these two players that you competed, an entire career against?
I couldn't pick. I mean, you can go through the list of NBA greats, right? Like, I couldn't pick two better players, not just that, but two better people to go in the hall with. Both of these are class acts and unbelievable players. I'm very privileged if I'm being honest. Yeah, this is, ever since I've stepped in the league, it's been like a big ass dream, and this is no different from it. I'm honored.
Next question from Zoom, we have Vincent Goodwill from Yahoo Sports.
Hey, Kevin, congratulations. Just curious, what is it like to be almost a prototype considering your game spans so many different eras, from the Barkleys and the Karl Malones to the Sheeds and the Chris Webbers? What was that competition like, and what is it like kind of to be that prototype that people from the future now aim to be?
The competition was real. Night in, night out, you had a challenge every night, and it wasn't like an easy night at the four at the time. I think you had Chris Webber, you had Dirk, you had Dice, you had Joe Smith, you had Sheed, you had Timmy, you had Chuck, you had Carl, you had, the list goes on and on. From day one, I want to be able to be different. I wanted to face up. You know, when I came into the league in '95, a lot of the bigs had their back to the basket. You didn't see a lot of face-ups. And through the glory of working with Kevin McHale, I started to change the narrative of what a four looked like. And I wanted to be a lot more versatile, not just on the offensive end. I wanted to be versatile on the defensive end, to be able to guard twos on switches, ones on switches, and have the agility to do that. So I trained like that. So from day one, I wanted to be different from everybody. And I just started to watch, not just myself, but Rasheed start to go from 17 to 18 feet shooting the ball, to 19 feet to shooting threes, to Timmy start taking his game out, even using the glass, going from 17 to 19 feet, which is very difficult. And I just started seeing players start to evolve. So, you know, we're in that evolution, you know, brings on Dirk, it brings on, you know, other styles that actually, you know, penetrated our game and made it different from kind of the yesteryears. And I'm glad I was a part of some of that growth. It truly recognized and distinguished the 2000s from the yesteryears.
Next up from the Boston Globe, Gary Washburn.
Kevin, you spent your career basically just looking on to the next day and being so focused and passionate. Over the last couple of years, have you had a chance to kind of take in the flowers you've received, to hug people that you used to despise, this is kind of being inducted with two major rivals. I mean, have you had a chance to kind of appreciate what you have done? And when you look at games now and guys are blocking shots after the whistle, you know, that's something you did and you were called a jerk for it, but now the whole league does it. Do you kind of look back finally on your time, and have you been able to appreciate it?
I'm glad you see it like that. Thank you for that. Others would probably say otherwise, but yeah, I haven't gotten to the hug part yet. The competitive juices and friends and foes slowly diminishes as we get older, right? I laugh at it when I watch kids go up and damn near break their neck trying to block the shot after the shot. I don't really think about it. I just one of them things where you see it when I'm amongst players and they speak about it. It hits me then, but one day I guess I'll sit back and actually embrace it all, but I'm still in it, Gary, if I'm being honest. Still in it.
Next up, we have on Zoom, Sherman Thomas from the Chicago Defender.
Hey, congratulations, brother Big Ticket. We're so very proud of you here in Chicago.
Appreciate it.
But what I wanted to know, we know we're very proud of the South and your Southern heritage, but you also finished up in Chicago. You played against some Chicago elites while they were young, and you also proudly represent the city. And so we get a little bit of a bad narrative out in the world, right? But you've been in Chicago for a while. Did Chicago embed anything in you while you were there that helped you achieve this such a great and momentous occasion?
I'm always like to give props to South Carolina and my upbringing, because my DNA, the way I was taught the game, but Chicago gave me my swag, it gave me my attitude, it gave me a different presence, playing so many different types of players, so many intense players, so many players that well deserving of being right here where I'm at. I had never actually encountered that level of competition and that variety of different players, nor have I played that many different areas of a place like Chicago. I played on the South Side, even though I was living on the West Side, which is something you don't really necessarily do. And a lot of times when you do that, you have to have permission.
Yes,
So a
you
lot
do.
of times I was crossing barriers and getting the South Side and the West Side to actually interact, which was like a no-no. But I learned a lot, man. Chicago actually taught me, and I felt like coming from Chicago, I was able and prepared to play in the NBA after that. I had so much exposure to survival lessons, and I like to always give Chicago the credit that it gave me that I needed to actually go from high school to the league. So I always give homage to the West Side. I give homage to the South Side, the whole city of Chicago for my progression and me being ready for the NBA.
Next up, Kevin, you got an old friend here, Steve Ashburner.
Ash,
Kevin,
look at you, boy. You got that gray on your boy.
yeah, it happens to the
It's
best
good
of
to
us.
see you,
We're a
man.
long way from Springfield Park.
Here we are.
You touched on this a little bit. None of us can control the loyalty we get back from others, but we do control the loyalty that we give. As you look at your time in Minnesota, how long you were there, the patience, the commitment, the work, the way things went after that, as you look back on it now, is it with regret? Is it with pride? How do you feel about your side of the loyalty?
Nothing is with regret. I think everything I learned in Minnesota, I was able to carry with me to Boston and make myself a better player and a better teammate. I had a better relationship with Wick, the owner, because of the situations and stuff that I went through in Minnesota. Minnesota took a chance on me. I don't have any regrets. I thank Glenn, I thank Kevin, I thank Flip Saunders for actually blessing me with the opportunity of being drafted and giving me the canvas to actually come out here and show the world. Kevin McHale being a great teacher, having great teammates like Sam Mitchell and Terry Porter that, gave me kind of the bearings. So no, I don't regret none of that. Without Soda, I don't know if I'm the same player going to Boston, So no, I don't regret anything. If anything, thank you.
And last question on Zoom is from John Corrales.
Hey, Kevin, you talked earlier about wanting to maybe come to Boston a little earlier. When you did go to Boston, you were 31. You had been through a lot in your career. Paul Pierce, Ray Allen had been through a lot in their careers. If you had come to Boston a few years earlier in your mid-20s, Paul in his mid-20s, Ray in his mid-20s, do you guys think you could have accomplished what you accomplished?
I don't like to play the shoulda, coulda, or the if you would have kind of game, right? That's kind of like the thing to do now, right? Right. If was a right, we'll be all right. You know the line. I can't even say what it was, but I want to be able to say that I think that we've been in a better positions to win, younger, fresher. I want to sit up and say that we gave ourselves better chances to win, but you also still had Shaq and Kobe. You had a great Spurs team. So you still was going to have to, see them at some point. But yeah, that remains to be, that's one of the ones that we'll never know, right?